A couple of minutes ago, I asked you guys on X to send me your websites for a redesign, and after many submissions, I've decided on this landing/coming soon page to be our focus for this redesign course. So sit back, take notes, and enjoy the video. This course is sponsored by my Patreon. More about that later. So I'm here, and we're going to be starting here in a Figma file, which you can get by looking down below in the description. I'm going to be providing this Figma file for free, so go check it out. Most of the assets and other stuff will be included in the file. And you can go here into househells.app and see the website that we're going to be redesigning. Now, this website's looking at it from top to bottom, not the worst ever website, but there are definitely some things we can improve. But today I'm going to start from the logo. And you might be asking, why are we starting from the logo? Isn't this a web design like course? Yes, it is. But most of the stuff that we're going to be changing or redesigning do have something to do with branding instead of web design. So you can look at this logo. You can look at the curved screen. You can look at the general structure and the general feel of the website. And if it does not do justice to the actual brand, then you cannot do much with it. So we would have to create a more effective and a more functional branding system. So I'm going to just drag the logo here. Obviously, it's a PNG. We cannot really vectorize it. So let's move it to the side. You can see I'm in a page called branding right here. So I'm going to put the logo and the name. Obviously, we're not going to be changing the name right here. Okay, so I'm going to go with a feel of more modern, right? Since this is tying closely, it is tying like households, like physical actions with something like digital applications here. So we would want to make it modern, but keep the feel of like handiness, premium, physical activity. So I want to keep that feel, but I want to also make it uh, look modern and premium. So how are we going to do this? Starting from this logo. First of all, the colors. The colors are not very good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from the logo, and we're going to go back to the colors, and we're going to choose good colors to fit into the brand. So I'm going to create the logo in grayscale first. That will resemble something like this if I turn off the saturation. Right, let's just do this. Looking at it without color, I can identify one very big problem. This H, I know they're trying to convey the idea of house and health, and using two edges here would make very much sense, right? It would make great sense. But this looks like a hashtag, and this house, it is very small to be considered a key idea of the logo and the brand. It is a very good idea, but it is too small, I think. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to take this logo. We're not going to be changing too much, but we're going to give it a modern feel. We're going to give it a more premium feel, and we're going to be clearing out the misconception that could be happening here with the hashtag and stuff like that. So let me start. Here I'm going to drag out, basically, first of all, actually, I want to have a working area. I'm going to drag out a frame for our logo. And since the logo will be placed on a white or light background, I'm going to keep this light to see how it contrasts with the actual final logo. So let me just drag this in. So at this point, I want to create a simple H. Now, obviously, you can use your text tool and create an edge, but I want to make this more customizable. So I'm going to do it by hand. So I'm going to take two vertical lines and let's just put it inside of a frame. Let's give it some gap. I want to go around 16 pixels, which seems to be fine here. I want to make them around 18 pixels width. I think that looks good. It's not too much. It's not too little, right? It's just right enough where it feels like uh, it has good enough weight on it. But it is not something like too wide, something like this. So let's just use this. And I want to duplicate this frame and just rotate it to 90 degrees. I want to decrease. Actually, why would I do that? I want to just take one of the here rectangles and I want to rotate this 90 degrees. And I want to position it so that it's an H. I want to ignore the auto layout for now. Let me just give it a different color to make it easier to work with. So I want to position it something like this, right? So just center it here. Okay, so we have our H. What you want here is I want to incorporate this house, but I want to make it a bit more prominent. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to take a simple polygon here, a triangle, and let's ignore also layout for this as well. Let's make this in red for now, just to make it easier to see. And I want to make this larger. So I just want to make this a bit larger here, just for it to fill out this area of the connection between these two vertical lines. Okay, that seems right, but I want to minimize this. Okay, let's get it bigger, center it here, and let's do it manually. So I want to take this and just drag it here to the point. Again, I want to go to the other side, do the same thing. Okay. This seems fine, but I do want to decrease the height just a bit. No, this is fine. Okay. So I want to change the Figma mode into draw mode. So you can go here. And I want to select these two. And you can see an option here for to subtract. It is Alt-Shift-S if you want to use the shortcut. And I'm going to subtract it. Okay, unfortunately, okay, it actually works. Great. So now we have this subtracted piece. I want to position it. Let's just get out of the auto layout since we already have everything we need. Let's position it here. So now you can see we have an H, and within that H we have a house. Now we can edit it a bit more. We can do stuff like increase the width, right? So increase the width here. Obviously I would want to make this okay. Let's return to the original. I think perhaps this is good enough. Maybe we can actually take everything here and increase the width. Something like this. That looks very nice. Okay. Great. So obviously now we can take everything here and we can give it the default color, something like this. And I want to take this polygon here and I want to decrease it. Okay. I still want to decrease it. So let me just go here and decrease the height here. Okay, maybe that's too much. If I could go to around 8 here. Okay, I have to go 9, I think. Okay, that looks acceptable. So you can see clearly there's an H and there's an archway to a house here embedded into it. So that's nice. But what I want to do is I want to take this and I can flatten it here. Okay, let me just flatten it so we can have a single vector. So I want to rename this H layer. So H layer. So the reason I named it that is because I want to keep the double H sort of diagram here. So I still want to have two H's, but I want to do it in a more clear way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, and obviously I have now two. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the opacity and take it to 1%. I'm going to go to effects under background blur. I'm going to go around 12 pixel background blur, and you will see now as I move this around, you can see it has a background blur. So I can align it like this, and you can see like a bright light. That's a cool effect, but that's not quite what you want. So I want to go around 2 by 2 or 3 by 3 and have something like this, right? So something around here, maybe even more, something like this perhaps, where you can clearly see two H's and you can see a glassmorphic effect here, which is very nice. And this is something companies like Stripe used to use less nowadays, but I think it's a very cool idea and it's a modern idea, and it gives the design more depth and more of a premium look here. So I want to select both of them and I want to give them some corner radius. Okay, so around 4 corner radius, and you can see what happens here, right? It creates this nice archway here, right? So we can obviously select this point and make it turn as well, but I think I really like it. It gives more of a house feel, and yeah, so I'm gonna move it something like this perhaps. So first let's align it and see. Okay, I really like it to be something like this, where we have a three-dimensional feel here. It's very nice. Okay, so I want to select both of these and I'm gonna name this the logo. If I could flatten it, I would, but that doesn't really work in this case with glassmorphic effects. Great. Now I want to create the name here. Obviously, I'm not going to change the name. That's the brand itself. So households. But I do want to change the font. Like there are so many fonts. There are fonts I installed even. That could work for this case, but I'm gonna go with Inter, the regular Inter. The reason I'm going with Inter is I want to give the whole website like a modern feel, and I don't think there is a more established font more than Inter at the moment. So I'm gonna keep that, and I'm gonna go with Inter. I'm gonna make this semi-bold just a bit, and obviously this is just for the presentation. And I'm gonna increase the size to around 16 or 18 actually. Okay. Also, I'm gonna select this and I wanna go with a height of around 48 here. Or 40 perhaps. Nothing really too much. Okay. Then I want to go here and I want to decrease the letter spacing to -2. Now you can use most of you I know use your phones just the regular way, which is completely fine and it follows good principles. But I like to make some edits to my fonts, including the line name here, which includes just reducing the letter spacing to give it this more premium feel. Now, if you have something like a blog where you have so much content, this might be a bad idea because it's not going to be clear to read. But on instances when you have some branding text, small pieces of text, this is completely acceptable and it looks much nicer. and feels more modern. And I'm going to select this and I'm going to make the leading 80%. 80% is a very nice point for enter, where like the two lines don't really intersect, but it gives this premium feel, and there isn't really too much of the space in between. So at this point now we have our text and our logo. I would like to decrease the logo even further, to be honest. Uh, Actually, what I noticed here is that as we are increasing the logo, let's return to the 64. As we are decreasing the size of the logo, you can see that it becomes more and more rounded, and that's not what we want here in this case. Uh, so what we want to do is I want to take this and outline stroke. Okay, so obviously now this will work. If we decrease the size, the border radius won't really change. It will scale with it. So that's a handy thing to know. So let's go a bit more around 36 pixels here. Again, I've talked about these numbers in so many of my previous videos, so I'm not going to repeat it today. Uh, but here, let's just take these two and put them inside of the brand here. I'm going to give them around 8 pixels of gap in between them. Let's remove this, we don't need it anymore. But obviously this does not look nice. It's just grayscale and black text. So we want to do something here. The first thing I want to do is I want to change this color. I want to make this black. It doesn't really affect it much, but I think it has a bit of, it adds a bit of luminosity, darkness if it is black. Let me just actually make it white. It doesn't really have too much of a difference though. For this, I want to go with a very light blue, a very saturated light blue. Something like this, maybe, just a bit desaturated. Then I want to go into my color selection and make it a linear gradient. And I want to make this a very dark blue, right? So at this point, maybe from this point here, from this point, let's just go and make it something like this. Okay, that's now very nice. It keeps like the blue feel, but I think this is more of a premium blue than the previous one. So now I want to select this. Sorry, by the way, if the audio is not the best. There is heavy rain outside, so it might interfere a bit. Hopefully, it doesn't. The final thing I want to do is actually change this whole part to be blue, so it matches the style. Also, we would want to select this black part and make it this. I'm not really a fan of that. I'm just going to keep it like the black color here. Okay. So final thing, this is our logo and uh this is our actually new branding for the rest of the series. We're going to be creating, not actually series, the rest of this course. Just a quick contrast here. You can see this is more premium and it has a more defined brand. Okay, so we want to make this, let's call this brand here, ungroup this. Let's put it inside of an also layout here. And I want to go with around 32 by 32 pixels. Yeah, so this is the frame housing the brand. Yeah, that's nice. I want to duplicate it though. And I want to create a 1920 by 1080 and center it here. Okay. This will be our thumbnail. Let's rename this to thumbnail. Okay, around here, thumbnail. Okay. Let's space it out properly, 40 pixels. That's the default Figma spacing convention for layers. I'm going to make this fairly large, around 128 perhaps. That's too low. Let's go around 600 perhaps. Now there are some problems with its scaling here. Uh, so let me just return it to 32, I believe 36. And what I want to do is I want to actually copy this as SVG, Control Shift R here. So I think now as I scale it, okay, it does have the same issues kinda. Uh, okay, let's just return here. Okay. Let's return to 36. So for our purposes of using it in a website, I think this is completely fine. Uh, there are some workarounds to fix this for larger view spaces. One way is to use it as PNG. For example, if we use it as PNG and if we increase the size, you can see some pixelation, but it keeps the overall shape. Uh, so we're gonna have to get a workaround with it when we need it. But for now, I think we don't really have to get into most of the complications here. So for now, I'm just gonna keep it like this, and for the thumbnail, I'm gonna use Redesign here. Okay, so let me just increase the size here, 128. I want to make this white. Okay. Or perhaps let's reverse that. Let me just increase the size just a bit. Maybe too much. Okay. Around here, and I want to so the way I want to make this work is I want to actually have a frame. You don't really have to know this. Maybe this is a bit too advanced, but what I'm basically doing here is I'm putting this. Okay. Yeah, I'm putting this in a frame, and this is an overflow frame. And because I don't really want this dot to be part of the centering. So when it is centered, because this dot doesn't really need that much space or that much significance, what will happen is it will skew the centering to around the left just a bit. So the workaround is to create an overflow frame, and I'm just gonna take this. Sound like this. Let me just yeah. Let me just decrease this. I want to make sure. Okay, let's get the auto layout off. Okay. Okay, something like this. So now only this is centered, but if we remove the clip content, you can see this is also shown. So that's like what I wanted to do basically. So yeah, you don't really need to know this. This is a bit advanced. In time we might speak on it, but for the purposes of this course, it's not really needed. So if you go to your Figma homepage, you can probably see it here if it loads. Yeah. Okay, very nice. We have our thumbnail. So thanks for watching. This is probably a full course, so there won't be any long waits between videos. It's gonna be probably just one huge video. So today we created this logo. We also made our thumbnail, our overall branding. The reason I want to show you the thumbnail stuff is because of the branding. Everything here you can see carries out a certain feel, like modernity, and like the digital world, stuff like that. Uh, Obviously, we have to work on this logo just a bit to make it scalable. We're gonna get into those complications when we need them, but for now, I think it's fine. Okay, that's great. So this time we're gonna be continuing with the actual working design here. So yeah, here. Before we finish, actually, if you want your website or your SaaS product to be featured on one of these redesigns uh, and get a whole new redesign feel for it, you can contact me on my X or Twitter, if some of you still call it that. You can contact me. I'm gonna leave my link to my profile in the description, and you can just go right there and just message me. Feel free. Also, you can message me to ask me anything. I know YouTube comments might not be the most intuitive thing, so feel free. Next time we're gonna be continuing, and we're gonna be starting with the actual design. Most probably the navbar. Uh, so yeah, see you there. So last time we created this logo for the households brand. And today we're going to be continuing with the design here, and we're going to actually be starting with the Navbar. So that will be the actual first part of the UI UX part that we're going to be doing. So you can see a couple of sections here. I'm not going to change the structure of the website too much, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the branding and the styling of the website and improve on some UI UX principles. Now, throughout this course or throughout this tutorial, you're going to see me kind of ignore like using color variables and stuff. That's basically because I just want to focus on more of the design part and not much of the software Figma. You can go back and watch other videos, other tutorials that I have made where I focus on that, and I have covered my techniques many times. But this time, let's just continue with the design. I'm going to start by creating a page here. I'm going to call it designs, or you can call it main, or actually whatever you want. I'm going to click F on my keyboard and select desktop. I'm going to rename this here. I'm going to rename it to landing, just basically landing. Uh, After this, before I start, I always want to select the background color. I want to know if I'm working on a dark theme or a light theme. And for this one, I'm going to go with light theme. I don't want to change the brand too much. I want to give it a modern redesign. I want to give it some corrections on some UI UX elements, but I don't really want to do anything that will create a completely different website. So I'm going to start with whites. But here, I'm not sure if it is, but it seems like it is of white background. And white backgrounds are fine at times, but for this time, I want to go just a bit of white, something like this, FA. So this is just like if I have a rectangle here, and if this is just white, you can barely notice the difference. You can like for a regular human being with regular vision, it's almost like you cannot see it, but it will have a big difference. Uh, Full black and full white colors are not natural colors. You don't see some things that are fully white or fully black in nature. So we are not familiar with it, and that doesn't work too great. White colors most of the time work fine, but because we see light everywhere and we see a good amount of white light, but black colors that's almost unseen, full black. So for now, we're just gonna keep with this, just an off-white color. And I want to start from the navbar. Obviously, the navbar needs an identity. I've talked about this so many times before. A navbar needs an identity. The user has to know what website they're on. So we already have the logo here. You already have it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate it. I need another version of the logo with the size I want. First, let's go here and create the name. The name is house, no spaces in between. And this is the letter spacing, line height. I wanted to return the line height to 100%. And semi-bold 18. This 18, I want to change it to 16 pixels size. So that's what I'm going to go for. So like the elements was just a bit of a more importance in the terms of visual hierarchy. They will have 16 pixel font size. Everything here will stay as it is. The only thing I want to change, I want to select the last part, which says health, and I want to change the color. And we already have the color here. If we go here and check it here, we can see we already have the color. So that's the color I want to apply. So I'm going to go and apply this color. So this just gives us something a bit more interesting. We also need the logo. Now, if we said that that was 64, actually 16 pixels, I want to have this logo around the same. So I want to go with 24 pixels. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to select this blur effect and I'm going to go reduce it to 8. So as we reduce the size, we should also reduce the blur. Like I'm not going to go into the details of why, but that's just how Figma works. And just know, as you reduce the size, you have to reduce the blur for it to maintain a constant ratio. I'm just going to reduce it to 8 here and paste it. You can see how proportional these are. This is not too big when you look at it from this point, and this is not too small when you look at it. But it still maintains a good level of visual hierarchy. So now we can select these two parts. One thing I want to be very careful of is I don't want to do something like this. Like some people do this in design, like it obviously says house, looking at this way, but it's not obvious to everybody. Some people will look at this and say there's an H as the logo, and you can see there is an aus. So what is an aus? Some people will have that outlook. So just make sure to include the full name here. Now I want to select these 2 points, and I want to call this the identity section of the navbar. Around 8 pixels gap and central alignment. So this is perfect. This is what we want. Next up, we want to include some links. Now here you can see there are 2 links. There's one for drawing the wait list, and one for placer pricing. Now this is not the best way of approaching this. Scrolling down the websites, I saw that there are a couple of links here as well. And I thought, why not have those links on the navbar, right? So that is where they should be instead of the footer. So we're going to be creating some links here. I'm going to start from a dedicated home link. I always like to have a home link because I always want the user to be to know where the user is. In this case, the user is on the homepage, and to be able to travel to the homepage or the landing page from anywhere. Now, most of the time, people could click here and they will be transferred to the homepage. But that's not explicit. That's just something you have to know through regular usage of the internet. But this time what I want to do is actually want to make this clear because some people won't know this. So I want to make this clear so that people always know their way back to home, their source. So I want to also make this regular. And I want to reduce the size, the color here, to reduce visual hierarchy while maintaining good contrast. The reason I want to do this is because not everything should be black. This black color should be reserved to elements of high visual hierarchy importance. This home button is just a link, and it's one of many links on the page. So it doesn't have that much of a big visual hierarchy. So we're just going to decrease it just a bit. Just make sure, as you decrease it, just make sure that it is still under good contrasting levels here. Okay, I like that color. So I'm going to duplicate it a couple of times here. I'm going to say here, I'm going to use the FAQs, pricing, blogs, and contact, right? So here, FAQs. blogs, here, contact, and finally pricing. Actually, I want to switch the contact with the pricing. And these are our links. So at this point, what I want to do is make an auto layout. So again, selecting all of these elements here, I'm gonna hit Shift A on my keyboard, and it will create an auto layout. I want to center it and use a gap of 40 pixels. I want to rename this links. So we have these links, but I want to make one difference. We are currently, if we assume that we are on this page, we are currently on the home page. So I want to make that obvious. I want to give an indication on the current page. The way I'm going to do this, I'm simply going to select the home link here, and I'm going to go and make it full black. So you can see how much of a visual contrast there is between the current page and the not current page, the pages that we haven't visited yet. So we need that distinction for the user to know where they are. Obviously, it's not too much of a difference, but I think it's subtle enough so that if the user wants to know, he or she can. So let's move forward with the design with this join waitlist. Now, it is obvious that this is a work in progress type of software, which is fine. And what you want to do most of the time for this sort of websites is use a waitlist. So yeah, join a waitlist is the proper button to use here. I'm just going to say join waitlist. Now at this point, I can make some changes. Since this is a high visual hierarchy element, I want to make it 16 by semi-bold, right? The reason this is a high visual hierarchy element, and you should know this stuff, what do you want the user to click on? What is the primary purpose of the website? And this, in this case, is just to get the user to join a waitlist. So obviously we have to give it a very high visual hierarchy. Now in this case, again, what we're going to do is we're just going to change the color here. The colors, again, we have talked about the colors last time, but it does not it's inspire. It is a color that you see everywhere. In part, this is because most of these websites are AI generated. If you go and look into the tech stack here, most of the time they have pretty much the same tech stack. This one actually have a bit of a difference, but most of these websites are AI generated. So that's the reason they have like these boring colors, teal colors. I want to use a more exciting color. So we have already selected our primary blue color right here. Okay. I don't think there's a difference between these two. Okay. So again, selecting these colors, I want to have a good amount of contrast. And in this case, a good amount of contrast would be to give it all white. Now, at this point, I just want to give it a bit of a corner radius, 8 pixels, and this looks fine, but it does not feel like a button. It feels more like a tag. And the reason it does that is because we are used of buttons being more wider than they are taller. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the padding, or on the sides, I'm going to give it 32 pixel padding. On the top and bottom, 16 pixels. So get it bigger than most of these content because this is the main point. This is the highest visual hierarchy element we have on the navbar. Great. So we have our button. It's in a good size. It is in a good ratio so that anyone looking at this button would recognize that it is actually a button. And in fact, I'm going to go and name it CTA. CTA, if you are not familiar, stands for call to action. And that's what it is. It's a call to action for the user to click the button and join a waitlist. Now, I want to make this more interesting. At the moment, what we just did is we just changed the color. We made adjustments to the font and it looks nicer overall. but I want to make some adjustments. First, let's reduce the layer spacing here, which is proper here. Now I want to make some changes, just the stroke, okay? So what I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to go and select this color. Now selecting this color, I'm going to go and select a lighter shade. Then I'm going to increase the weight. So we have this sort of color border around it. And now this button looks much more interesting. You can see like we did not make a huge difference. We did not like create like different vectors and illustrations. We did not make arrows like this or stuff. We just made a bit of a difference using strokes. And at this point, it is all enough. It works well and on its own. So we can just leave it. You don't want to add a bit of complexity, then keep adding complexity to the point where it is not coherent anymore. What you want to do is you want to make your base elements as we did here. Then you want to go add details. You want to create some elements which are more interesting, like we did here. So you start from the base, you increase slowly. And the base here on most of these websites, it is okay, it is fine. Even though there are some visual hierarchy and contrast and some color issues, it is fine in general. It's not too crazy, it's not the worst, but it is fine. But where they lack is in creating that extra bit of fantasy, that's extra bit of specialness in their design. And that's one of the reasons, one of the actually, that's one of the downfalls of AI. It does not create anything interesting, it just recycles. If you maybe in the future, maybe AI will get to that level, but at the current state, you can see all of these AI websites, they are the same generic websites. They lack that extra bit of humanity in them. So that's what we want to do. And if you're starting out as a designer, that's what you need to know. You have to start from the base. You have to learn the basics. But it's not enough anymore to create the basics. You have to create something interesting. You have to use your humanity and go add just subtle details here and there and add big details uh, and just make your designs more interesting. So don't be afraid of experimenting. We did not experiment too much here, in fact, but don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid of creating unique designs. So let's work on the layout. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take these two and put them together. I'm going to give them around 848 pixels gap, and I'm going to call this the actions. Now let's talk about what I did right here. I grouped these, but why did I group these? Let's actually decrease it to 40. So since we need around equal spacing here to feel coherent. Why did I do this? Because these links and this button, they are basically they basically do the same action. They are links. They transfer the user to where they should be. So I want to have them together so that the user have all his navigation together. And I want to have this on a separate place because this is just branding. This is marketing. So we are grouping everything based on purpose. Why did I make these equal widths in between, a spacing in between? You can see 40 and 40 here. Now, many times what I would do is I would increase this just a bit, right? Because these are more interconnected than this. So you want to give this more space for it to feel like its own elements. But in this case, we have the stroke, we have the big paddings. So it does feel like this is its own element and we don't need to give it any more additional space. Great. Hopefully you are noting these points down. Uh, okay, so let's move on. I want to select these two elements and I want to create them, put them in a frame called Navbar content. Actually, I want to make them name them contact. You'll see why in a minute. Then I want to center them and place them on the top. let's go here to the layout grids, columns here, 12 pixels. We have talked about this many times. I want to have 12 pixel columns, and I'm going to go to each side of the column here. Right, each side of the column, and align my rulers here, both on the left and on the right. Great. Now I want to remove the layout grids, and the reason I needed those lines is because now I can go in and adjust this so that there is equal spacing or equal white or negative space on both sides. So if it's like something like this, it does not feel coherent. It feels out of place. There's too much space here and not enough space here. So I want to return it here since there is equal spacing on both sides. Now I want to drag out a frame here. Okay, I want to drag out a frame. And this frame will be called the navbar. Why do we need a frame? Simply because I want to use a stroke. So let me just put some auto uh, auto alignment here or auto layout and center it. And this is fine at the moment. But I want to do is I want to add some padding so that the content is not stuck to the top. There is enough space for the content to flow. You always want to make sure that there is enough white space. You don't need anything like hugging the borders. Finally, what I want to do is I want to give this, not finally, I want to give this a white color. Just a separation between this sort of gray color, but it's very light, almost indistinguishable from white, and this white color. Now at this point, what we can do is we can go here and give it a stroke. And only at the bottom. So at this point, I want to make this stroke very light. Somewhere maybe just darker than that. Around here maybe. C4 around here. This feels nice. Okay, so why did I do that? Why did I give it a border? Now, it is completely fine to use color separation. It's completely fine to just put the navbar and the content side by side as a coherent section. But I decided to do this because I'm not sure. I'm not sure what I'm gonna put here. There could be so many different ways of doing a hero section for a company like this. We can do the same thing as they did and use an overlay image. We can use a different color. We can use just a regular white background. There are so many things we can do, and the navbar should adjust to all of those. Now, on other websites, on other redesigns I might have a better idea of the hero section when starting out on the navbar. But for some reason, I couldn't get a clear idea in my head. So the best thing to do here is to be prepared for all of them. And using a navbar with something like this, with a border, a clear separation between these two sections, will just allow us to count the navbar as its own section, the mini section, and use the hero section as its own section. So that gives us freedom so that when we talk about the hero section next time, we know that we can experiment more. So if you struggle with hero sections, try this. Try to create a clear separation between the navbar and the hero section so that you don't need to worry about the navbar when you are working on the main section, which is the hero section. So I'm not going to say hero section navbar this many times in a sentence anymore. But the point is, creating separation means we can focus on this other section right here. Thank you for watching. I think that's quite enough. We just created the navbar and talked about a little about the general structure of the redesign going forwards. Now you can see I'm not making anything into a variable. I'm not selecting colors here or doing much with some components and stuff. If you want those sorts of videos, I already have a couple of courses out on them. You can go and check them out. But here I want to just focus on design and some principles. And I think that's enough. Obviously, next time I'm gonna talk about the hero section here. It's a cool hero section what they try to do, and there are so many interesting things to do, so many interesting things to try. And we're gonna be looking at that on the very next parts. Last time we finished working on the Navbar, and as you can see, it's in a very good shape. But today we're going to be working on the hero section, which is for many the most important and also for many the hardest part of designing a landing page. So before we actually start, let me just change the navbar a bit. I want to go and reduce the padding on the block side, that's the top and bottom, to 12, which is everything here. Now that we have done that, I want to go ahead and start with the design. Okay, where should we start? Last time I told you that I'm undecided on what to do with the here section. Do I use sort of colors? Do I use images? Or what do I use? I was undecided on that. And what I decided on is I want to use a darker color here to contrast what sections are coming next. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to select here and I'm actually just going to drag out a rectangle. I think that's the better way. Let me just drag out a rectangle. This tutorial does not focus on using Figma and best ways of doing certain stuff in Figma. It focuses more on doing design and designing. So I'm not going to worry about the details too much. So let me just remove the stroke, since if we already have a colored background here, we don't really need a stroke for it. It's already highly separated. I'm going to rename it color BG or BG color. I think BG color makes much more sense. So let me just select a darker color here. Let's go here to the primary color and I want to select a darker form of that color. I want to go a bit to the side maybe. Interesting. Let me just return here and go again. I don't want to go full black. I want to go something like this, maybe just around here. I think this looks nice. Okay. So this gives us a very nice contrast and we can just start working on the rest of the design. So first thing I want to do is I want to include a headline and just lock that layer in. I want to have a headline. My headline, I'm just going to say home maintenance made easy. You can go back and check out the website. I'm going to leave a link down below in the description for the original website. If you want to go back and just check it out, see how it originally looks. But here I'm just going to leave it like this. And I want to increase it. I want to make it fairly large, 96. I want it to be the central point of the website, of the hero section. Maybe 96 is a bit too much, but we're going to see. Let's just decrease it here. Okay, I like this shape. I just want to central line it. I want to go with around 76, maybe a bit more. And around here, I think looks good, 84. And again, I want to make it a bit more tight here. Before that, let's actually give it a semi-bold look, and let's just increase the width a bit here. Okay, I'm gonna leave it with the regular letter spacing. Looks nice. Great. So I have what I want. I have my primary central point, but I do now want to add to that. Like I want to go and increase detail, and I want to give the user more information. The first thing I want to do is I want to give it a subtitle or subheadline. Let's just say you can avoid expensive surprises. This is from the original website. Let me just decrease the size to make it easier to work with. We can avoid expensive surprises, budget, smarter. Okay, and what maybe use the original here. Okay. And protect your your home's value. Okay, something like this. I want to make this 100. Also, actually, we don't need to have any sort of line height there. Let's just return to this to the regular. I want to go to. I want to have like 2 lines here. I think that's nice. Okay, around here. Maybe I want to increase the line heighting actually. Just a bit around here. Just make it easier to read. Now you can see like we have 2 elements, but this is fighting for attention too much. So what I want to do is I want to decrease the color contrast here just to reduce its visual hierarchy. So the way to do it, if I go and make it gray, even if it has good contrast, what will happen is it will clash with the background. Gray doesn't look good here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and select the background color, and I'm going to make it more visible like this. Right, so something like this. Okay, great. So it is obviously visible, it has good contrast, and it does not fight for attention as it used to do. Next up, obviously we want the user to join the waitlist, right? So I need like a form for that. So let's just do that. I want to go say your email at domain.com, just at domain.com here, which is just like a placeholder for the user to type in their email. And I want to make this obvious for the user to know what to enter. So let's just put it inside of an answer layout here. I'm gonna call it input. Let's remove the gap. And I want to have a good amount of padding here, maybe 24 by 24. Good amount. It should be visible. It's the primary call to action of the whole website here. So let me just give it a background color. And for the background color, I just want to go to select the original background color and just go around here. Okay. Just make sure that there is a clear difference between the background and the form. Something like this. I like that. Okay, so obviously we want to keep the theme of having 8 pixel border radius. You can see all throughout the website, I'm keeping the border radius pretty much consistent. So let's just give this a bit more space and align it to the left. Also, I don't want this to have so much visual hierarchy. It's just it is just a placeholder, so I want to go select background color and just make it around here, perhaps. Okay, it's just a placeholder, so it doesn't need to be the most clear thing. I think this is visible enough at the point. But let's increase the visibility. It's contrasting, it's not very good, so okay, something like that. Great. So you can see that we are giving this a high visual hierarchy with its size and as its contrast. But we are giving this with its size and its contrast. We are giving this with its contrast. So there are so many ways of applying visual hierarchy, and you just have to choose what works best by just trying different stuff out. And next up here, I want to select this join waitlist button. Okay, let's raise it up. And I want a difference between this button and this button. I want the difference to be through an icon. So I'm just going to create that. I'm going to just create a line in Figma. And I want to decrease. I'm just going to call this icon accent arrow accent here. Okay. So let's make this rounded. Okay, this is very nice. I want to put this inside of a frame. And I want to apply all the way out to this frame. Let's make it 24 by 24 and center it. And I want to put this inside of here. Now, obviously, at the current state, it works fine. But what I want to do here is I actually want to give it a fill of this background color. So now this call to action has more of a visual hierarchy than this call to action. So we're building most of our websites through visual hierarchy. It's a very important part. I want to go with 6 pixel corner radius. And you might be asking, why the sudden change from 8 pixels to 6 pixels? That's basically because we have 8 pixels out here. So a good rule to follow is that your inner border radius should be less than your outer one. And here I think I just want to decrease this even more into 4 pixels. Great. So because as size increases, then the border radius should increase. As size decreases, the border radius should decrease to give the same feeling that it originally had. So let's call this icon. Let's remove the accent from here and apply it here. Okay. Great. So I want to select these two, and I'm going to call this the form, and apply some spacing, just a bit, around 8 pixels or maybe 12. And I want to have this to fill the container here. Size. Okay. Something like that. That works fine. Okay. Let's move on. So we have our headline, sub-headline, and now we have our form. So these are the 3 primary elements that we want on our website. So our landing page is going very, very well. What's next? The next thing I want to do is I want to add additional information. So once you finish putting all your necessary information, you can now give the user more detail, more additional information. So the first thing I want to do is I want to most websites have this. Most brands, most companies have a feature, have something that makes them different, that makes them special. And I think the hero section is most of the time the best place to showcase that. And for this website, I'm obviously making this up, but I'm just going to create some text to show what's special about this website. I think that's the easiest way of doing it. I'm going to say ranked number 32 for best for maintenance. I cannot spell that word. Services in the US from 2016 up to 2026. Okay. Just some random text here, but it is very important to get the user's attention. So I want to make this actually everything is fine about it. I just want to give it a different color. I want to apply the same color that we used here. Okay, so now it has enough contrast. I want to make this a high visual hierarchy element, the number 32 part, because it's the most important part of the text. And let's left align this. I'm gonna click Shift R, and if you remember last time, we have created this sort of arrow, sort of grid lines to show where our design should start. Yeah, let's just drag it in. I like it to be around this. Okay, great. Also, I want to have the same sort of icon button here, just if the user want to learn more. For example, the user might want to learn more about what does it mean to be rank 32. Uh, what is the home maintenance services in US? What others are there? Uh, like the user want to know additional stuff about this. It's not gonna take you a face value. So just gonna give it additional information. So here I'm gonna apply a white background to it because obviously the backgrounds were clashing. So I want to give the arrow this color. So we just inverted it here. So let's take these two again. And this time, let's just put them in auto layouts. And this is, let's just say special tag here. There are so many ways of applying this. I'm just going to put this top left as a top left alignment. And I think this is fine. Okay, great. So we have a good progress right here. The next thing I want to do is I want to have a customer support sort of button somewhere or around here. That's because people might want to ask questions, especially relating to home maintenance and stuff like that. People using the service would tend to want to talk to a real person for these sort of stuff. So I want to have that here. So the first thing I want to do is I have this icon pack open. It's the X and X icon pack. You can search it in Figma community, in the Figma community. But I'm gonna be providing this Figma file for you. This Figma file for you in the description, so you can just go ahead there and find it and use it, and you can get all of the icons and all of the assets from there. For now, what I want to do is I want to go and get here. I want this headset icon. This headset icon is what we're going to be using to indicate customer support. So obviously we can just flatten this, and this is just going to be headset icon. And let's put this inside of a frame. Also layout it. The frame should be around 8 by 8 for now. We might change it. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select a new color. So we already have 1, 2, and 3 primary colors. I want to add another one. So this color would be the accent color. So I don't really want to reuse this blue, because if I reuse it, it loses its high visual hierarchy. It loses its importance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go ahead and select the blue, and from the blue, go and get this sort of light blue color. Or I can maybe do it from here. Okay, maybe select this. Go around here. I think that's nice. Okay. Okay, so I actually don't want to apply this to the headphone. I wanted to apply this here. So let's just change it up. For the actual headset, for the actual headset, I want to give it this value. And for the corner radius, again, I want to give this 4 pixels. or perhaps 6 pixels here, since we will be making, okay, 4 pixels I think works better, since we're going to be making this inside of another container. So I just want to write out contact support. Let's decrease its size to around 18 pixels. Also, okay. Maybe decrease it to 16 here. I mean, okay. Even decrease it maybe. Okay, maybe 16. So it is kind of a button. So I want to select these two. I want to change this to black actually. And give this some borders, 8 pixels by 8 pixel padding, and white background with 8 pixel corner radius. Okay, I think that works fine. I would just want to decrease the gap here to around 8. And let's change this to be around 16 or 18 actually. Okay, great. I like this button. I just want to align it right here to the side, right at the border. Then I want to select these two elements right here and center it, auto spacing. Now I want to position them centered and bottom. From the bottom, I want to go and give it 16 pixel. Actually, I want to give it 24 pixel on the bottom and the top to give it the spacing it needs. So let's rename this accent icon here. This is support BTN. This is sort of the hero footer. You can call it that. Okay, very nice. So now I only want to add one more element, and it is going to be a news tag here on the top. Obviously, we have so much more to do in the hero section. We're going to do that next part, but today I want to finish off by just adding a news tag. So what is a news tag? It's just where you show, like especially for software companies, you want to show additional information, new releases and stuff like that. So let's just do that. The way I'm going to do this is I'm going to start by saying v2.3 beta. Okay. So this is maybe the upcoming version of the beta. Since it's in a wait list, it's most probably a beta. So from this point, I'm going to give it 16 pixels. I'm going to select this and remove the line height, which is annoying at this point. And here, I want to give it just around 8 pixels by 8 pixels padding, nothing more. Then I want to give it a white background here, and I want to give it this black color for its text. And I want to do the same thing here. I want to give it the black. Instead of going full black, I want to go with the background color. So again, 6 pixels here, since we are going to have an outside container for it. So actually 4 pixels as we have been doing so far. Then say coming soon, coming very soon this year. Then we obviously need like a call to action for it, for people to go and check it out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this and just remove the background, remove any corner radiuses in the padding. Okay, remove the stroke as well. Hard content. Okay, then I want to change this from 16 to 14 pixels, and I want to remove the outer layer from this arrow. We are almost done here. Just decrease the gap to 8. And instead of say join waitlist, I want to say learn more. Okay, so this will be our call to action. What I want to do is I want to select all of these, put them inside of an auto layout, and 16 pixel gap, I think maybe 24 pixel gap, I think would be enough. Then I want to give it a background of the color, the accent color, and 8 pixel corner radius. This is something repeating, right? So we have already done this so many times. Give it a padding of 8 by 8. Maybe increase the padding for this one by 12. Okay. So obviously these two elements are not contrasting well. So I want to give this from the background. I don't want it to be full black and have too much visual hierarchy. I just wanted to give it enough around here. Obviously I want to remove the semi-bold and just give it something like this. Also I want to make it 14 pixels instead of 16. And let's decrease the gap here to maybe 20 or maybe 16. Just make them closer. Okay. Now I want to select this part and just change its color to be the background here. And this is, I think this is all we need. We might want to decrease a bit of the padding. Maybe let's go 8 by 8 and see how that works. Okay, let's keep it at 12. Okay, let's keep it at 12. And maybe decrease this to 8. Yeah. So I think that looks very nice. So now we have most of our elements ready. Next up, we will work, let's rename this first. We would work on the alignment, spacing, stuff like that. Also, we're going to make this interesting because at this point it's just boring, it's kind of bland. So we're going to add some accents, some visual interest points, and make it work much better. So news tag here, news outline, let's just call it. Okay, that was very good. I think that's enough for this video. Next up, again, as I told you, we're gonna continue working on the hero section and making it much more interesting. Again, if you have any questions on this whole course, drop them down below in the comment. I'm gonna leave the Figma file in the description, so go and grab it from there and use it, experiment with it, learn from it, and you can find all the icons and stuff like that from there. Okay, next time we're gonna be continuing. So let's quickly finish up the hero section here. Before I do that, actually, I want to change a typo here in the file name. It's not host, it's house, just like this. Okay, so we can continue the hero section. Now, where are we currently in terms of the hero section? We simply created all the elements we need. All the necessary pieces are put in place. All the information is given to the user. Now it's more about creating a good brand image and making the design look good, basically. So let's start. The first thing I want to do is I want to go to each element and I want to identify if there's a place where we could make it work better. So for example, I can see from all of this, I can see that this maintenance part might be a good place to start. I want to make it an area of high importance. So maybe it is a good place to give some visual flair. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag out a rectangle here, covering the whole text, making sure it's covered. I'm going to reduce the opacity for a moment here, just to make sure I cover every part of the text. Okay. It doesn't have to be like a perfect measurement. I just want to make it roughly aligned and I want to center it. Okay, great. So let me just increase the size just a bit here. Okay, around here. It doesn't have to be perfect. Now at this point, I want to reduce. Actually, I want to increase its border radius to 8, and I want to send it back. Obviously, I don't want to send it back to the background color. Okay, so now I want to make this text PG accent here. Okay, let me just increase its opacity to 100%. So how do we make this look good? Because currently it's just a square, a rectangle, sorry. The easiest way of doing this is simply to create a gradient. It's all in the colors. So I'm going to select the color that we already had. And since it's not too visible, this white color on this lightish background, as you can see from the contrast checker here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the background color. So now it has good contrast. So we can go back to this part. So I want to take both of these elements and group them. So now they are together and they can move as one. I'm going to call this headline accented. And currently it is still just a color. So I want to go and change it from a solid color to a gradient. And I want to change it from a linear gradient to an angular, I think, or a diamond. I think an angular gradient will work better. So then I want to change this color to be white, or roughly white. I want to decrease this just a bit, maybe. Yeah, but roughly a whitish blue, a bluish white color. So I want to then change this to be more, okay, something like this to give it more of an angular shape. I think that looks nice. Okay, yeah, that's great. So at this point, by just adding one simple element to our design, we have made it stand out much more. So from this whole text, now this maintenance part will glow and will have a higher visual hierarchy, and overall the design will look better. That's good. That's a very good start, but I don't think that's enough. I want to add additional styling here. What I want to do is I want to go and apply some lines here, some grid lines. But before that, I really want to just work on the spacing and the structure of the hero section. So I'm going to select these 3 elements, Shift A to put them inside of an auto layout, and 32 pixel gap. Okay, 32 pixel gap seems to be okay here. We'll see. For now, I like it. Maybe just decrease. Maybe let's try 24. Okay, 24 I think works better. Then I'm gonna select the form and I'm gonna apply around maybe around 48 pixels or 40 pixels. Okay, that again looks very nice. Then let's come over here and I'm gonna call this part the content, and I'm gonna call this part um I'm gonna call it main. So this will be the main part of the hero section, and this will be obviously the footer. So we can also call this hero main, I think, just to make it clear. So next up, let's align these 3 elements. I want to take everything here, Shift A, and actually I want to take this part and center it, and I want to have equal spacing between here and here. So okay, so from the navbar we have 165 and here 187. So let me just get it down to 100 something equal, 176 and 176. So now it is centered between these two contents. So that's something you have to make sure of. Most of the time, what I see beginners do is I see them just take some content and just center it. And that's not right. You want to center your content sometimes from the whole screen, but other times from its own section. So in this case, we made it from its own section. Okay, so I want to take this part, Shift A. I want to give it an auto gap here. Then hero section, right? So this our hero section, this our navbar. I want to put it up. I also want to rename this hero BG color. Okay, nice. So at this point, we have everything ready. I just want to add one more accent or something for the visual flair. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take a line here, and starting from this point, maybe up to this point, I'm going to draw out a line. Okay, I'm going to call this just a line at this point. Okay, let's make this 10.4 so it fills out the whole height of the view. I want to make this white for now, just to make it easier to see. I'm going to duplicate them. Okay, that's quite enough. I want to select everything here, every line. And this is going to be lines BG accents. Or we can call it BG pattern accents. So then I want to give it a gap of maybe 200 and center it. Actually, 200 is a bit too much. So maybe 128. Okay. We are on the right track, but I'm going to give it a gap of auto here. And okay, I think this is it. Okay. Then I want to take this hero. Actually, I want to take this hero, the lines pattern accent, and the hero color. I want to Control G, hero accented. And great. So this will be obviously sitting down below the navbar. And I want to select this line accent because now it's just it's not nice to see. It just gets in the way. I want to bring it behind the content. That's the first thing I want to do. And that makes a difference by at least giving the above content precedence. So, but at this point, I want to make sure that it's not just white lines. I want to make sure it looks good. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to first go and select each line. And I want to change some properties here. The first thing I want to do is I want to go to the settings of the stroke here, and under the basic settings, I want to change it from solid to dash, right? And I want to increase the dash number. And as I increase the dash number, you can see there are many dashes and more space. Okay, let me just decrease this. Round here, I think works nice. Then I want to change the endpoints to be round, and I also want to round off the caps, also the joints. Okay. So you can see now it looks much better, but it's still just white lines, and it's competing for too much attention. So I don't really like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the stroke and select the background color. If I do that, you can see it just disappears. But what I want to do is I want to slowly just give it a color. That does not interfere too much, but that it is not invisible. Slowed. Okay. I think I like this. So now we have a cool pattern on the background, and the back of the design does not feel like stale. And I just want to go in and keep making some adjustments, some changes. So the first thing I want to do is perhaps reduce the gap to 24. That looks nice. Let's see. That looks good. Okay. Maybe let's decrease the contrast just a bit more. Let's go off to the grayscale here. Okay. Yeah. So let's lock these two layers. And that's it. Okay. That's a very nice hero section. You can see how much of a big difference the pattern on the back made. And now what I want to do is I want to compare the hero section that we just did to the initial hero section, right? So this is the after, if you want to say that, and this is the before, after. So let me just make the background here a bit lighter. Before, actually after, before. So you can see there's a clear difference, and most of the difference comes in the branding in the style, uh, rather than just pure design principles. Obviously, we have improved on some principles, especially here. There isn't really much of a visual hierarchy difference. Uh, and here, these shapes are just floating and they don't feel connected. Now, you might be asking why I removed the actual view of the app. And there's a simple reason for that. There are multiple reasons, but one of those reasons is that you don't want to show something in beta. So if something is in beta, and for example, as this is, and you're putting a wait list, you're asking for a wait list, it is fine if you put some stuff like this, like snapshots or parts, models of your app. But I don't think it's a good idea to put the whole app here. Uh, because you want to create intrigue, you want the user to wait for your app. You just want to show the interesting points. You want to show the functionality, what it solves. But if you show the whole app, the user might find something that they don't like. Uh, and I don't mean that in a bad way. You obviously the user you want to give the user as much information as you want, but if the user finds something they don't like in a beta, that's not telling much about your product. It's a beta, and most of the stuff will be changing. So I don't really think showing stuff that don't do well uh, in terms of your target demographic here. So just don't show the incomplete design. So throughout this redesign, I'm going to be redesigning these parts, these models, and putting them in place. But at this point, I don't want to show this part here. I want the user to know the functionality. I want the user to know what is solved, what problems solved. I also want to show the user some parts of it. I don't want to leave the user in the dark. I want to show small parts, what I think are important parts and what I think are complete. But I don't want to show the full version, which might not be as coherent as it should be for the user's attention to be drawn into it. Okay. Great, so we are currently here, right? That's good progress. Next up, obviously, we're just going to continue with the design, continue working on it. The hero section is done, which I think is the hardest part, and for most of you, it is the hardest part, I think. But from now on, it's just going to get easier. And yeah, next time we're going to be continuing by creating this section, which I still don't understand what exactly it is, but we're going to try to make it into something useful for the brand instead of just taking place. So that's going to be happening in the next part. Hope you're enjoying the video so far. But before we continue, just a quick announcement. I've started a Patreon. I really love making videos and educating on web design and development, but making videos takes time and at times could be really expensive. So if you want to help me keep making videos and also if you want to get benefits such as having your website redesigned on the channel, then supporting me through Patreon would be the best way. I've left the link down below in the description and I really appreciate the support. Without further ado, let's get back to the video. So after finishing this very nice hero section, I want to go and look at the website and I want to see what other sections it has. I don't want to change the structure. So the next part is this, which I'm not really sure what it is. I'm not sure which one of these texts is the title and the subtitle. Perhaps this is the title, perhaps this is the title. I'm not sure. These images, I see the carousel, but I don't really know what they do, even in relation with these text. I'm assuming that they mean they fix these or they work on maintenance on these materials, but I don't think that's the best way of going through this. Um, I think instead we should be focusing on showing a very nice clean home instead of just showing random equipment because it doesn't really inspire anything. It's a very weird section. And I think I have a solution for it. I think I have a good idea of what it might be. So let me just go back to our websites and I want to increase the height. I want to add an extra screen, 1024. Seems like this is a bit broken here. Let me just move this up top. Right about here. Okay. Obviously, I want to constrain to the top left. Okay. Then let me just lock it. Okay, now we can continue with this part. So obviously, the color here is not actually full white. It is a sort of a bit gray, but it is almost white. So we just talked about that in the previous parts where we created the color of the background. And I want to start from the main focal point. And the main focal point I think should be this. But I want to edit the text a bit here. I don't want it to use the exact same text because I don't really think it works that well. What I want to do is I want to say simplify. I think it's simplify home care. And save money without headaches. I think this is like a bit of a constricted way of writing this. I just removed some words, made it simpler. But I think this works much better for like a headline central focus point. Obviously, this is not a tutorial on copywriting, but we're just gonna be using this for the design overall. Okay, so next up, I want to increase the size. I want to make this 96 pixels. We're gonna see if we would want to change that, but I think we want to do 96, semi bold. I want to go with around 80% line height, maybe around 84 perhaps. Okay, then let's okay, is the line height enough? Perhaps add a bit more. 84, like 87, I think. Okay. Okay, I want to have it somewhere around here. But I want to center it here. Okay. I like it, but I'm not sure if it's too big. For now, I think it's fine. I'm going to center it here. Maybe decrease it a bit here. I want to go 81 perhaps. Yeah, I think I like this much better. Also, I don't want it to be as much of a high visual hierarchy element as this one. Yeah. Okay, so let me just center it to you. And next up, what I want to do is I want to go here and I just want to copy all of this. I also want to give a bit of a better description. So let me just copy that. Uh, Obviously, I want to put the line height on also, and I want to go 16 pixels font size. This looks nice, but I want to decrease this to regular. Also, I want to go back and use a less visual hierarchy contrasty color for this. So I will want to use the color for the gray text that we already had. Okay. Obviously, the text needs some editing, but I'm not really going to worry about that much at the point. So what I'm trying to do is I want to give this as a bit of a description. So something like this, I want to position it up top here. The reason I'm positioning it up top is I want the user to first see this, that I want the user's attention to span over here. Right? So this will be the biggest visual hierarchy element just because of its purely because of its size. Then I want to get the user to get additional information if needed. But I want to have a call to action on this section as well. And I'm going to position it around here. That seems logical to me at this point. Just having a call to action on almost each section will make it very easy for the user to make his or her mind up and just decide on signing up for the waitlist. So we're just going to leave that button here. Although I want to have, okay, although I want to decrease the height here to the regular. Okay, that's nice. Okay, next up, let's work on the images because I was really thinking of the images, and these images just don't inspire anything. You want the user to get excited about your app, but you're not giving anything to be excited. Like these are just random furniture, and I think any person looking at this would just know that it really doesn't have anything to do with the app. They just put some random furniture images in. So let me try and create something more interesting. So we're going to be going to a field of graphics design here. I mean, we're going to be going more into graphics design than pure web design. So we will need some flair here. So what I'm going to do is I was thinking about this and I want to create something interesting. And I'm going to use graphics design for that. And I'm going to say this is cutout. Yeah, just cutout here. I want to have a rectangle around this big, around here. So I want to take this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out some circles, and I want to sweep the circles to 50% so they are semicircles, and I want to right click and flatten them so the extra space is gone. Then Shift V to flip them horizontally. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and make it red. Right, so, or I'm going to make this color. Very nice. So, okay, let me just decrease the size just a bit here. Okay, nice. So I'm going to duplicate these a couple of times. And let me just reduce the size so that we can increase it by one more. Take everything here. Shift A. And decrease the width to auto, and I'm just going to decrease it a bit here. Something like this, but I think these semicircles are a bit too big, so I'm going to decrease the size. Okay, yeah, I really like this one. So I want to have sort of these are like papers that you stick around in your house. I got the inspiration from there. We had like these sort of papers on fridges and stuff just to take notes in the house. Maybe some people used it for highlighting stuff in the house that should be fixed. Uh, so I think there's a nice connection there. So next, what I'm going to do, and this is more on Figma, is I'm just going to ungroup everything here. And one day I'm going to have Figma, a tutorial on using creating vector illustrations, Figma, and stuff like that. But for now, just copy what I'm doing, or you can get the Figma file from the description down below and just go there and grab it. What I'm going to select everything. I'm going to highlight everything. Go here, and I'm going to go subtract. So now I have purely this layout here, this cutout. Then I'm going to right click here and flatten it, right? So I have a flattened layout here, and I'm going to call it my cutout. And it's very simple. So it's just a cutout from a rectangle. We just subtracted some elements from it and made it the way it is. So not really much happening here in terms of technicality. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this cutout. I'm going to take it and apply this color to it, which is already what you have been using so far. Great. So then I'm going to bring it in here. Okay. Okay. So at this point, what I can do is I can take this and apply some effects. The first effect is noise effects. I want to go around 12% here on the visibility or the opacity of the color. And as you can see, there would be some grainy texture. This will just give it a very nice texture to it. And I'm going to duplicate this. Okay. For this one, I want to use our primary color. I think these two colors are the same. I'm not sure why Figma just shows both of them. Okay. So we have two cutouts here. So now we can do so many things with these. What I want to do is for this one. Let's start from this one. I wanted to duplicate it, and let me just remove the noise, perhaps. Well, I'm gonna keep the noise here, and I'm gonna add. I'm gonna right click it actually. I'm gonna go to plugins, and I will have a plugin called Unsplash here. If you don't have it, you can go to Manage Plugins and search for Unsplash. It's a very cool app or plugin in Figma that lets you just download and add images to your design. I'm just gonna call it homes. I want to say home, and I want to try to find a very nice home picture with the same. Uh, Maybe this one would work. I want to make sure it's within the same aspect ratio. Okay, so okay, I think I like the one up top, so let me just go there and apply it to. Okay, very nice. Also, okay, now you can see that I have layered it within this cutout. I want to make it bigger and center it still. Okay, that's very nice. But what I want to do is I want to go in and I want to increase the saturation. And as I increase the saturation, it becomes this very like cozy, very warm color. And I think that's what I'm going for here. So I'm gonna still make it a bit bigger. I think we can use the cutout shape a bit more. Okay, around here, just decrease it down just a bit. Okay, then we can select these two, and I want to go and add an effect to both of them, which has to do with drop shadow. Okay, so first let me just group these. I'm gonna call this group uh, home image, and I want to have this at an angle here, just a bit here at an angle. I think that works much nicer. Like a tilted image of sorts. Then I want to go here to the cutout part, and I want to go to the drop shadow, and I want to like go 4x4, I think. Then increase the blur. I'm gonna go with 12 blur, and that just gives this a very subtle blur, but that just gives it additional sort of uh texture to it, additional 3D feel to it. Also, I want to go here, and for this one, instead of black, I want to go with this dark blue color, and I want to go here. I want to go with 12% as well, 4x4 again, and just increase. I want to go with the same thing. Here, it would be less noticeable, but it just gives it that extra feel of floating, which is what I'm going for. Next up, for this one, I don't want to have another image. I want to have something like branding, a bit of branding. So I'm just going to write some text here. I'm going to call it make home. Just some branding, it's a catchy phrase. It doesn't have to mean anything. It just have to stick with the user once they close the website. And that means they will have additional interest in the website just because of this phrase. So I don't want to use enter for this actually. I want to go to popular fonts here. Actually, I want to go variable fonts. And I remember that there was a very nice font. Yeah, I think it's downfall. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but I want to go 80%. I don't want to have it with a low letter spacing. Okay, but I want to increase its size noticeably. Let's go around 200. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, and at this central point, just after the E, I want to break these. Then I want to turn it around here, almost like minus 90 degrees. And okay, maybe this is too big, so 128. Too small, so maybe 165, something like this. 168. That seems good, but I maybe just add some bits. Just make sure that these are multiples of either 6 or 8. In this case, 174 is, so yeah. Okay. Next up, I want to make this our blue color, our very saturated blue color. So you can see we get this sort of very cool effect here. Almost a branding, more of a branding outlook than just regular text here. So I want to take this and I want to actually get it inside of the page and center it here. Okay, the easiest way of centering is just to center it to the page and do the same thing with this one. Okay, so now as we do this, I want to take this, Control G to group it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and apply sort of the same thing that we have done, but this time I'm going to make it -4 on the x-axis. -4 doesn't really make sense though. I'm going to go with, let's go for perhaps, I'm not sure. We might change it, but -4 doesn't make sense because if I take some light source here, okay, it actually makes sense. I was thinking that why would the light source create shadows on two different planes, but that actually makes sense if the light source is on the center, in the center. So -4 and 12 and 12 here as well. So we have pretty much the same shadow that we had there. And I want to take this, and it was -9. Let's go -9, and I want to do here the same thing. Maybe let's decrease it to -8 and -8 as well. Here, actually, I want to go +8. Okay, great. So maybe I could let me call this branding or slag, something like this. Maybe I can apply the same thing here with the rope shadow. I'm not sure here. Let's just try it out. -4 for 12. -4 for 12. Okay. I don't really like that one. I just want to maybe like it's something printed onto this shit. So like a sheet of paper, maybe something printed on that. So I think that works better that way. Maybe to decrease the line heights um, around here. Okay, then I want to center it visually more. Maybe increase this size 180 perhaps. Just make some tweaks here. It doesn't have to be perfectly centered either. Okay, let me decrease it. It doesn't have to be perfectly centered or anything like that. It just has to be, it just has to feel centered, what I'm trying to say. Because I want to make this feel like it's hand drawn rather than just printed on computer. So it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. Okay, very nice. We are close to finishing this. At this point, I think most of our elements are ready. I just want to take these three, Shift A, and decrease the gap between them so that they can overlap. Around here, something like that. Something like that. I don't hate that, but let me just go -64. Okay. Just make sure that it is obviously readable. Like say simplify home care and save money without, obviously you can infer that without headaches. Also, just make sure to add interactions with this. For example, I'm thinking of an interaction when you hover over the text, it comes above this so you can clearly read it. I'm thinking of interactions where you can cycle through this image and display a carousel of images. Before I finish off, actually, I want to go to effects here and noise. And I want to go, I think it was 12%. I'm not sure. Uh, Something like this. I think I want to apply the noise to the whole group. Okay, so then I want to center this and take all of these and just center them and apply an auto gap. And I just want to make sure that there is 32. Yeah, that was lucky, by the way. I did not do anything special there. That was just luck. Uh, so just make them 32 and 32. Okay, so center them horizontally as well. And we are almost done here. I want to call this the main content. I want to call that the main and this the content. Or we are almost done here. I'm feeling that the background is a bit bland, even though we have a good amount of content. But I think we can reuse this line gray accent here. So I'm gonna duplicate it and just move it down here. So center and down. Let me just move it to the content. Actually, let me just move it outside. Center and down here. Okay. So you can see obviously at this point, it's taking too much attention. There are so many ways of fixing that. The first thing is I want to move it back to the back. And the second thing is I want to change its color. Because now it is being low contrast with respect to the background here. And we changed the background, so we have to change that as well. So I'm going to go to full white. I'm actually going to go to FA since that's the color. And I'm going to select it. And I'm using the down arrow. I'm just going to give it just a bit of contrast here. Maybe just a bit more. E2, something like this. It doesn't have to be too visible, but just has to make the difference. Maybe I can give it a bit more contrast. around here. E4, I think this works very nicely. There is just enough content here just to make it, just to make the background visually appealing without taking too much away from the actual content. So I'm gonna lock this and I'm gonna take these two, then Control G, then this, I'm gonna call this, I don't even know what section I could call it. Transition section, I'm gonna call it transition section accented, and I'm gonna take it down. Okay, very nice. So obviously I think it's not visible enough. Like your accent, your visual accents should be visible enough up to some point. E2 here should be visible. They should be visible enough to make a difference, but they shouldn't be too visible to take away from the design. Around here, I think feels right. Around here, I think just feels nice. So the same way we did it here, the same level of contrast here as well, I think should be working very well. But I think there is too much white space around here, making it not too visible at the moment. So again, I want to just add a bit more. I'm just not satisfied with the color. Obviously, I don't want to go anywhere around here, so I just want to decrease it. Around here, I think works nice. Just maybe decrease it a bit. Around here. Okay, that's fine. Okay, that's fine. I like that word. Okay, great. Yeah, so obviously we took a section that was a bit bland, I think, with not really much purpose to it, just except it's just a transition to the how it works. And we made it something more pleasant to look at visually, that has more of a value with these better images. Like we could have shown just like parts of a home, uh, like the ceiling, like the ground, like the grass, stuff like that. Uh, but that wouldn't just create a feeling for the user. The user would want a very clean, nice house, and seeing that, I think seeing this would give the user a better feeling than just looking at black and white home equipment. So I think we have done very well. I really like how it turned out. Obviously, and it works very nice with the above section. It has some similarities, and that's something you want to keep in your design. You don't want to create two different sections that feel that they belong in two different websites. So you just want to make sure they are consistent as much as possible, while being unique. And we did the consistency part, especially with this grid lines around here. And we made them unique by using some graphic design elements around. And I think this is a very nice section. Next time we're going to be continuing with these, how it works. And I think I am either going to take all of these sections and like put them into one. But I'm going to show you how you can redesign these like models, which are very important for a website like this, where you are asking for signups to join a waitlist. Overall, we are doing very well. We just have to do this part and frequently ask questions and follow that with the footer. Again, any questions, drop them down below in the comments. Next time, we're going to continue with the design. Last time we took this section, which is just a regular carousel with images, which is a transition section between the hero and the rest of the website. And we made it look very nice. We made it look good. We made it also more functional. We made it create a brand identity instead of just being there for no reason at all. So that was what we did last time. Today, I'm going to be doing something a bit controversial. Controversial in a sense that I'm going to be removing everything from this website. You can see there is this large section, the how house hells works. It's the majority of the website actually. It spans 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 sections, and I'm going to be removing it all. I'm going to will be removing everything, and you might be asking why. Uh, the reason for this is not just design, but also marketing and product management. Basically, let's think of it like this. The reason people create these sort of websites, these join waitlist websites, basically cancel pages, is because they want users to be waiting for them. They want to get emails so that when they launch, they have a target audience. That's the basic reason behind it. So that's okay, but the reason we need this is not only because when we launch, we want pre-made users, it's also because we want to build our app upon those users. So you want to build your app with 10, maybe 20 people. Uh, you always want to have regular contacts, show them the current stages of the app and stuff like that. Uh, and you want to build your app basically with them. But doing this, here showing a sort of a completed app with all the descriptions and a detailed outline. What you're basically doing here is just telling the user there is an app made, there is a software made. That software is ready for you to use. We're not releasing the software yet because there are some things that needs to be tweaked, but it is mostly complete. That's the idea you're giving out. And if the user comes to your website and sees these snapshots, and if the user doesn't like them, or if the user thinks it's not for them, they're not going to be joining your waitlist. You're not going to get those initial users that you want to build your app, because the user will think this is a completed app. I don't like it. I don't like how it is. I'm just going to try to find another thing. But instead, you just want to create intrigue and interest. Those are the only things you want to do. Create intrigue and interest. You are not showing a completed app. If it was that, this won't be join waitlist, it would be sign up. This won't be a come soon page, this would be a landing page. But this is not a landing page. This is basically to create intrigue. It should do only that. You want to answer some questions, you don't want to give the user no information at all and leave him in the dark. I understand that is correct, but that is why you have a frequently asked questions or FAQs section. So next up, we're going to be utilizing this to its fullest, and we're going to be answering most of the user's questions with this, while not giving the user a concrete idea of the app. We're just going to be answering the most interesting points the user might ask and what the user should know. Then we're going to be trying to create intrigue. We're going to be trying to get signups so that the user could help us build the app. And I've worked with so many, like tens of startup companies, and most as consultant and as designer, and most of those companies don't make it out just because they don't follow this step. The ones that do, the ones that only create intrigue, the ones that build with the user, succeed. So this is saying today AI can design anything. You might be replaced with AI if you're just a designer. You have to be more of a problem solver. And I know you've heard this so many times, but it is true. You have to do more than design. If you're a developer, you have to do more than code. You have to fix problems. And in this case, for this website, this is the problem that we're going to be solving. And it might seem counterintuitive that we are removing most of this and I'm calling this a web design course or tutorial, whatever the title says, but it is not. We are actually increasing conversion this way. So and this also from experience. I've done this with a couple of companies and it's worked. And I've also seen companies do this and it was more popular at times. And I've seen most of those companies fail. But today, let me show you how we are going to be doing this. Let me show you the design basically. So let's go into Figma and start our design. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by taking this landing page. Actually, this should be coming soon. It's not a landing page at all. And I'm gonna increase the height and I'm gonna add one extra unit of height. I'm gonna add 1024 pixels. Okay, great. So at this point, I want to use a different background. I want to use a different background just to break off the feel from just white. I want to make it more interesting. I'm gonna use a different background basically. Uh, Let me just get this right here. There might be better ways of applying a background than using just a regular rectangle, but I'm gonna stick with that. Uh, Here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rename this PG. Okay. And for the color, I'm going with the light blue color to cat. Okay, just remove this. Uh, Great, so I can lock the background here and I can get into work here. The first thing I want to do is I want to take this text, duplicate it, bring it over here. Here, I want to have a different text. I want to say only the most detailed case for your home. Care, I mean, care. I had it wrong on my notes. Okay, the most detailed care for your home. Ignore that. Okay, great. So at this point, what we can do is we can take this and we are on 81. But I'm not sure how much of a size I want to give this. I'm not sure if it's just a headline or it's more of a centerpiece. Uh, I know I want to make it on two lines, so I'm gonna do that. And okay, maybe that could work. I think I'm gonna use it as just a headline for now, or something similar with this. Uh, but I'm gonna keep it like this, and I'm gonna change the color. Relative to the background, I want it to be dark, so I'm gonna go with this color right here. Okay, I misselected it. I think it was this color, yeah. So you can see there is a bit of a blue tint to it, but nothing crazy here. It's still mostly black. Okay, great. Next up, I want a description. For the description, I'm gonna take, let me take this text here, duplicate it and bring it down. And up. Okay, first thing, let me change the color here. The color should be around here. I believe this was, if you remember, this was the same that we used for this coming soon text. Okay, so let me just change the text as well. I want to give it some better description of what the actual app does, because this is where I can actually give the user information. So I'm gonna say fill out your detail. Okay, that's the first thing the user should do. Be aware of your home home's safety goals. Safety, if I can, safety. I think there's an E here. Safety goals. Um, what else? So I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to write this text in terms of these images. So you fill out your details, be aware of your safety goals, track your budgets, and maintain a healthy house. So track your budgets and maintain a healthy house or whole. That feels more personal. So yeah, so this is the text and I want to position it here. So what I want to do is I actually want to take this space in between of these two texts. I want to use this as the primary headline and I want to use this as the extra description to give for the user. And something like this, the same thing we did here, but with a slightly different layout. I don't want to have a join waitlist button here as well. I think it gets redundant. We can just skip this section and apply it on the next section. Uh, Again, the user should have this button available to them at all times. And just skipping one section and providing the button on both this and this section, I think is fine because you always have it in arm's reach. But I'm going to be using this uh, sort of this area here to actually show the images. And I want to show the obviously I took every section here and I merged them into one and I removed most of the text, but I want to keep the images. I want the user to get something to get intrigued on. I can't just expect the user to be intrigued just because I show some branding and some images of a nice home. I should give the user something more. I should give the user a semblance of the app. I should show the user what the app actually might feel like. So to do that is exactly what I'm going to be doing next. And to do that, it's going to be a bit tricky here. It's not going to be the simplest thing. But basically, I want to show the images. I want to stylize the images. And I want to not show too much. I don't want to make it obvious what the app is, but while still giving the user something to chew on. So what I've done is I have gone ahead and redesigned these sections here. And actually, let me just show you here. So the first one was this, right? So obviously, so this, you can see I changed the design. I redesigned most of its part, including the branding with stronger colors and something that fits the brand that we are going for. For this one, weekly goals here, I took a couple of things out, but I basically made it simpler because I don't like this is not a course on how to design a SaaS. We're just creating the coming soon page, but or the landing page, you can call it. But in terms of the design here, I think simplification is better because obviously this is a coming soon page and it is not something to show the whole app. This is a more simplified version of what the final product might be, but I think the user will find this easy to digest this simple design instead of this. So it's all about giving the user something to know. Like the user could look at these two images and the user probably will get more use off of this design, but the user looking at the design not as a user but as just someone browsing the website will look at this and will understand that the overall app or the overall SaaS product much better. uh, so here, moving on to this one. Again, I've cut so many things here, but this is more simpler and easier to understand. I'm not trying to show the actual app. Again, I'm just trying to get the user to show something that the user might understand and to show something that the user will get intrigued on. So you can see here as well, it lacks some detail, like for example, 91%, 9%. these have just the days. It's not a complete design, but it's intriguing enough. That's the point I want to hit home. So just be wary of those. So great. So we can go back. I will be copying this as an SVG so that it becomes easier for me to work with. And I'm going to paste it here. Okay, I want to decrease the size. Okay. Let me just copy this as well as an SVG and come here, paste it, reduce the size, and bring it over here. Again, for the third card, I want to do this as an SVG and paste it here. Now, the size of these images will be determined on the order of visual hierarchy. The elements or the models here that we want the user to focus on and what we think the user would get most intrigued by will be larger. And the ones that we think the user will be less intrigued by will be less big, will be smaller. So saying that, let me rename it. Obviously, the naming here is not ideal, but let me just try to name this card 4 in the same order as we did previously. Card 3, card 2, card 1. Okay, so what do I think the user will be more interested by? I think this should be our primary focus. Okay, so we'll give it a larger size than all of them actually. Then I think this will be the least important, so I'm going to reduce the size, but I'm going to still make it bigger than the others because originally this was very big and I don't want to reduce its size too much. Then I think, I'm not sure, but I think this will be the least. After this, obviously, this will be the least important one, and I think the user would want to see this a bit more, but I'm still going to decrease it bigger than the rest. This will be a bit bigger. Okay, so something like this for the sizes. Now, how are we going to showcase them? How are we going to, should I just put them side by side? Should I put them top down, do a grid layout? What should I do? At this point, it depends on what you want to do and how you want to use your artistic freedom and design freedom to make your choices here. But let me show you what I ended up with. What I ended up with was just taking this. I'm going to rotate it just a bit here. I'm going to take this. I'm going to put it here and overlay it. I want this to be on top. Okay. And I want to rotate this heavily. Okay. And I want to take this and again rotate it. And move it down here. And just increase this just a bit. Okay, then let me take this. Let me put this in front. You can see I'm actually masking this because if I put it up on top here, right, it's just bland. It's not showing too much. But I can just put it at the back and it will show the parts of the website, the design that are most interesting. So yeah, almost done here. Just place it around here. I think works nicely. So just an overlapped scramble here. It's not anything really organized, but I think it works Very nice. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of these and give them an effect, which is noise. Now you might be asking why? Why would we want to do? Why would we want to use noise? I'm going to put it at 4%, and if I go very close, you can see a very nice texture. And while that might not be the actual app, what that does is basically creates a feel of like a handmade, rough texture to it, and is something that goes well with the idea of a home. So that's basically the reason I wanted to go with this noise accent all throughout the website. So it just creates a very nice texture overall. But at this point, I want to do one additional thing. I want to take everything here. I want to group them first, and this group will be cards. Then I want to take I want to take this pen tool here and trace over this structure here. Okay, just an outline here. It doesn't have to be perfect. It actually should not be perfect. It should be a bit imperfect because I want to show the handmade feel to it. I want to make this handmade as much as possible. Because handmade elements actually perform better than just stuff like vector illustrations and stuff. It creates a personalized feel to the website. And that's exactly what I'm doing. You can see it's very imperfect. And it does not keep the structure all that well. But it does its job here. Let me just connect it. Okay, great. So I'm going to remove the stroke and apply a fill. This will create a structure like a fridge magnet, which I really like. So that's the reason I did this. So this will be cards BG, and I'm going to put this inside of the cards, but I'm going to put it at the back. Okay, so obviously I gave it a corner radius, and you can see how much of a nice structure this creates. It creates this uneven sort of feel uh, around, but it's obvious that it is handmade. I do want to fix this just a bit though. Let's make it, just decrease the imperfections just a bit. Okay, this is nice. This creates a nice shape around it. And it creates something like a fridge magnet sort of feel, which I've in this case works perfect with the brand. But I want to move this just a bit up high. I want to rotate this just a bit like this. Okay, then move it up just a touch. Overall, it's very nice. I want to give the background here an effect, and it's not going to be noise. Instead, it's just going to be drop shadow. The same thing I did previously, 4 minus 4 and 12 blur and 12 here. But the color, I actually want to make this the black color here. And for this, I want to go 12%. And it creates this very subtle shadow that gives it a sort of 3D feel. But that's everything we want. Now I want to select everything here and place it like this. Uh, maybe 96 cap, 96. I want to increase it actually. Maybe I can go 81 or 72. Not sure. The spacing looks a bit too much. So let me just, maybe I could take this and increase the size. Okay, maybe instead of increasing the size, let's go around 48. Wait. Then after doing that, let us center it here, around here. Okay. That looks nice, but I want to finish off with adding only one additional thing. Last thing, I promise. Let me just rename this. Maybe I want to name this like glimpse section. So glimpse section. Okay, so the final thing I want to do is I want to take this pattern and I want to keep using this. I'm going to move it down, put it up. Actually, I want to move it up here, center it. And you can see it doesn't work well because it's white here. I want to take this and I want to make it a bit dark, a darker tone of the background here. Something like this. Then let me take it at the back. And as I keep using this, it creates a feel of like wooden boards, like a separation of wooden boards. And I think I really like that feel. So I'm going to keep reusing it throughout the website. Okay, very nice. It's more prominent here, but I think it works very nice with the background color. So let me just take this. Okay, let me just take these two here and Control G. This is gonna called glimpse section, accented as we already have been doing with all the other sections. Let me just move it down now. Okay. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna take the BG and put it inside as well, and put it at the back. Okay, so then we can. Okay, let me just move it here and back. Okay, move it down. Okay, very nice. So basically we have compressed the website a lot here, but I think it's worth it in terms of conversion. So that's the primary goal, conversion. Next up, we want to be continuing with the FAQ section, which is a very important section since we removed most of the content. We're going to be trying to give the user all the information they need in this section. But that will be for next time. For now, I'm just going to leave you with this view of what we just changed. This was the before. And even though the section is very small, this is the after. Okay. I really like it. Next up, again, as I said, when we continue with the FAQ section, please ask any questions if you have any, and get the file from the Figma file from the description down below, where you could get all the assets, all the images and stuff like you need. Okay, thanks. Next time. So after completing this section, which is just a combination of all of these sections, there are 5 sections in general here. Today we're going to be continuing with the design and we're going to be working on the FAQ section. Now the FAQ section, I think, is the most important section that we're going to be doing in this whole website because we already took out so much information here. We cannot do that. We cannot keep doing that. We have to simply provide all those missing informations, all the necessary ones in the FAQ section. But we have to make sure that we don't actually give information that is not needed and that will probably change as this is a coming soon page. So we have to be careful of that. Now I'm just going to start as I did every other section by just increasing 1 unit of height, 1024. to this website, this landing page. Also, let me just remove this here. Okay, great. So I have this section right here, which is empty at the moment, and I want to put an FAQ section. Where do I start? Before I start with the FAQ section, I just simply want to give it a headline and a subheadline just to tell the user this is a FAQ section. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here. I'm going to duplicate this and bring it down here. I'm going to use the same thing for the below one. I'm going to go and I'm going to say this is the frequently asked questions. Okay. Now I can left align everything here and drag this space so that it looks something like this, which I like. Okay. Now I have this. I also need a description, which is what we have here. Okay. For the description, I'm gonna say, uh, it's not really gonna be a description. It's just additional information, right? You obviously know what an FAQ section is, and we didn't even abbreviate it. It's a frequently asked questions. So I'm gonna add here, if you have any questions, any additional questions, feel free to contact us using the button on the bottom right. Okay, you might be asking what is the button at the bottom right, and it is simply this button right here. It will be scrolling down with the user as the user goes down. And I think to illustrate that better, I'm just going to take this, duplicate it, bring it down here, and obviously here it should be around here, and I'm going to give it a stroke C5 as it was, or maybe I should change the color actually. So I'm going to change the color. I'm going to make this okay, I'm going to make the fill here like this. Okay, that's nice. So this will be the button that will be all throughout the website, obviously changing colors. And yeah, people could ask additional questions through contacting support. Now I want to left align this. Actually, I want to right align that and take it to the left side for now. Then I want to take this here and I want to duplicate this. And let me change the color here. And I want to switch the background to the original. And I want to increase this padding to 16 by 16. I also want to increase this to 24. Something like this, but let's decrease the padding to 12 and the size to 24, 32 actually. Then I want to bring it over here and I want to overlay it, rotating it something like this. Obviously I want to have an effect on it, which is what we've been doing throughout, -4, 12, 12, and just a subtle shadow. Next up, the final thing for the headline I'm gonna need for the header is I'm gonna need a call to action. So I'm gonna bring that here and align it right here. Okay, that's good progress. And next up, what I want to do is I want to take these two here, Shift A. I obviously want this to just be hot content, or maybe, no, I just want to make it hot content here. I don't need to span the whole width. Something like this. And I want to change this color here to 45, which is what we've been using all throughout. And I think now we can take our grid lines, which we already had from the first episode, I think, and we can align these to our guidelines. The best way to do this is to select them both and to just put a gap of auto in between them. So then scale them to hug the grid lines around here. Okay. Then the final thing I want to do is I want to take this, cut it, and paste it inside here. But I want it to ignore the auto layout, and I just want to position it here. Maybe just overlapping the Y here, just for a nice effect. This just makes it interesting overall. Okay, so here now we can position it somewhere we want. I'm gonna leave it here for now, and we're gonna be returning back. Here, let me position this well. It should be 32 from the bottom, I believe. Around here. Nice. Okay, so what do we put here? This is the most important part. We obviously put the FAQs. And how do we start doing that? Now, obviously, we have a couple of questions here. 1, 2, 3, 4 questions. Obviously, though, if we took all of this information out of the websites, we have to compensate, and the quality of the questions should be very high. So how do we actually do that? We have to change it's more of copyright. We have to change the text, this text here. But I'm not going to be doing that I'm going to be sticking to the design. I'm not going to be really talking much about copyright and stuff, but you would want to ask more effective questions. These sections might have been answering 1 or 2 important questions. So ask effective and questions that most people would want to know. For example, how does the app work? How is it free? Yeah, for example, they are asking it here. People want to know this stuff if they're going to wait for it, right? How long will it take to develop to finish? Estimate time, stuff like that you would want to put here. Obviously, these questions are also important, but you could have many. Sorry, here you could have many frequently asked questions, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing. For now, though, let's just take one of the questions. Okay, can we select this? Maybe go here, select it. And something I noticed in the mobile section, the frequently asked questions just disappear, which is a bit odd. You don't really want to do that, but okay, I just copied the text from here and I'm gonna paste it right here. Okay, but I want to make this a bit different. I want to go with around 48 pixel size, getting it big enough here. Semi-bold, I'm gonna stick with that. And let me just put it somewhere around here. We can leave that there and do something like this. Sorry, maybe 48 is a bit too much, so 32 is a bit too small, so maybe 40. 40 is nice, somewhere around the middle. Okay. Then we have this. Then we need a button to expand, right? So if you go back here, you can see this minus and plus icons. I want to do something similar to that in our version of the redesign. So let's do that. We're going to be needing some icons. So where do we get it? We get it from here, X and X icon pack, as I told you before. But actually, you can just get it from this Figma file, which will be provided to you down below in the description, as I always say. Let me just. By the way, let me rename some of this stuff here. This should be additional info. This is the header. Okay. So let's take the plus icon from here. Just paste it. I want to Control Alt O, outline stroke, so that its stroke scales properly. 24 perhaps. Then this is add icon. Shift A, put it inside of an auto layout. Open BTN, I'm gonna call it. Around 16 by 16. And 6 corner radius. 6 because we will have an external corner radius, so I want to make it smaller. I want to make that 8 and this one 6. Then let's fill the container, or let's just make it white and give it a stroke of C5, I believe, which is our primary color for borders. Now what I want to do is I want to take these two, Shift A, and I want to give them a gap of also so that they scale. This is question. So question. So then let's go and add a padding of 16 by 16. Just give it some good space all around. And 8 pixel corner radius. Fill will be white, and obviously we're going to be doing the same thing that we did here. So I'm seeing a collision here. We are repeating a pattern here, which I really don't like how it looks. So also this should be a high visual hierarchy element. So let me just change some stuff about it. I want to make this white, and I want to make this our dark blue color. Also, we don't need the stroke anymore. Okay, very nice. So we have our question, right? So we have a question. Let me duplicate this 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. And after doing that, I'm seeing that the plus icon is a bit too large for my liking. So maybe just decrease this 12 by 12. And maybe we can take this 18. I think that's nice. Obviously, you can click here and this will expand. The plus icon just makes it a bit more obvious. So duplicate this 4 times. And I want to change the text. You might be asking, why do we need to change the text? I want to make this as realistic as possible, right? Since we're going to be working with this as a redesign, you would want to know how this will look in a real world application. Okay, so we're gonna take everything, and actually I want to go back here and select this and copy the text, change it here, do the same thing with the 3 other texts. And this, the nice part about here is that this could be infinitely scrolling, and you could have infinite questions. But what I'm going to do is I'm not going to have like buttons to scroll to the sides and stuff. This will just hijack the scroll. And I know people don't really like this, and it's been outdated, I think, scroll jacking. But I think in this case it's very important. And obviously next up we're going to be having the footer, and it's going to be a small part, so it's not really that important that people reach the footer. So since it's the final part, after so much thinking, I think that hijacking the scroll in this case and going into horizontal scrolling with all the questions to the side would be the best thing. Obviously, I don't want to have 100 questions. Maybe as max, like maybe 12, 14 questions this around there would be the best fit. But yeah, but for now, let's just continue here. And let me just replace this as well. Okay, then what I want to do is I want to take everything here, all 3 texts, and I want to make them a bit less visual hierarchy. The reason I'm doing this is because I want element, the card that is currently selected to be the highest visual hierarchy element. And we're going to be getting into that next. But for now, let's just take everything here, Shift A. This is going to be FAQs, or let's just say questions, since FAQs could be the whole section. 24 gap is actually perfect. Let's get our lines out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to get it to the side here. Very nice. Okay. So then what this does is when we decide to align everything here, obviously not this, but when we decide to align everything here, it's just going to basically align to the center, right? It's going to align to the center. If we had this part, it will be skewed to this side. So that's the reason. And next up, let's work on the selected question. So let this be, for example, the selected question. So how are we going to do this? I want to start by maybe giving it a bit more of a special look. If F, I think that works nice. Then I want to give it additional text, obviously. Okay, so I feel like these texts are too big. I still feel that. So let me just go decrease it to 36 or 32. I think 32 will be just fine. Okay, 32 is fine. So let me just go ahead, open this. I want to make it obviously as realistic as possible. Let me take this text right here and let's go inside, paste it. Okay, obviously I want to make this small, 14 pixels, regular. I again want to paste it here. Okay, 14 pixels, regular, and it should be black here since it's the primary text. And we could also make this the black color here, black, full black actually. Okay, I like that. So let's just take this, make sure it fills the container. I'm gonna leave this text here. Obviously, there are so much here, and you could have so many ways of displaying it. What I would say is that if you have so long of a question, I think it's better to classify them into different groups, different questions, and answer as much questions as possible. Uh, since the user don't really want to read a case study for everything they want to know, just classify them as small questions, and the same way I did it here. I see this might not be the best answer for this, but I'm just gonna copy the text from there. I hope it works for now. Also, I want to increase the line heights just to make it easier to read. Yeah, so that's nice. Okay, so let me just take this. Maybe I want to make this a low contrast because I don't really think I want this to take. Obviously the texts are going to get long, so I don't really want this to be overwhelming for the user to read. Okay, let's select these two, put them in a frame, and this is going to be the content. And let's go with around 16 pixels gap. 16 pixels gap. I think that works. Okay, that looks nice. The last thing I want to do is maybe accent it a bit. I like the feeling of paper that we have been doing all throughout with these noise particles. Uh, it gives it a feeling of a handmade feeling. So let me just go here, go to effects, go to noise, and 4, I believe we did previously. So it gives us this very nice texture. It's not the most obvious thing in the world, but I think it's fine enough for us. So yeah, I think that's it. And we can continue here with the design. And what's next? What's next? What's could we add to this session? It feels mostly complete, but I want to do one more thing here. I want to maybe I want to put this inside of this section, and I want to add one more element to complement this. You remember this news outline. So we can just take this down, put it right here, and yeah. Okay, obviously then before that, let's change the text. The first thing I want to do is instead of saying coming soon v 2.3 beta, I want to actually say join live stream. If, for example, let's say while this app is being built, uh, it is being live streamed and we have live FAQs with our customers and users. Let's say that, right? Join live stream to ask your own questions, right? Then instead of learn more, I'm going to say join live stream. It's going to be an immediate link. And here I'm going to put the date of the live stream. Maybe I'm going to give a random date, September 23, 2026. A fully random date doesn't mean anything, but nice placeholder. Then let's make sure everything here works. Okay, so this will be our, and these two sections, they feel complementary, so that's a very nice plus. We could also perhaps look into changing the color of this. Maybe we could make it not sure. It's a good idea to try it out. Okay, maybe I think we're using this color a bit too much, so just gonna leave it there and return to the original color. Okay, that's nice. So what next? Obviously you can see that this is our primary color, but I'm really using it conservatively. I'm not using it much, obviously for very high visual hierarchy elements. And that's what you want to do. You want to select your primary color and you want to make that color special. And by doing that, anywhere the color is seen, the user immediately thinks that this is an important element. And probably this could be a sticky navigation. So this will always be there for the user to click. And we don't really need to use that color too much. Okay, very nice. So let's work on this section here. Let's make sure it sticks to the right places here and here. Okay, this was going to be our bottom, let's just say bottom, uh, let's just say it's our bottom part. It doesn't really have to be anything really special. Okay, then we can now select 1, 2. Obviously, remember this is here, it's not there, and 3. And Shift A. Obviously, I want to put a gap of 96, I believe, around something like this. I think I like that very much. Also, I want to center it. Okay, since it's not working, let me just do it manually. So 53, 109, 70, 92, 85, 74, okay, 81, 81. Okay, perfect. So now is vertically centered. And perhaps I want to give this a bit more of a space. So, okay, obviously I want to do that. Then select all the questions. Then make their height fill the container. Okay, yeah, they needed that additional push. So let's put this up. Okay, just a bit more. Okay, here. So now it is centered both horizontally and vertically. And this is going to be the FAQs section. One final thing here to do is Very simple. We want to add the accent here that we already have all throughout the website, and it's at this point like it's almost as branding. People will look at stuff like this on wood and stuff, and they will remember this website, right? So I want to take this part, duplicate it, right? Bring it out, center and bottom. So it gets here. First, you put it at the back. Then I want to bring the FAQs in this here. Obviously, lock this and Control G. Again, I'm gonna call this FAQs accented. And since it's the last section, I'm gonna put it after everything. And you can see this pattern works very nice here as well. So yeah, this is our FAQ section. Let's remove this to get a better look. And I really like how it is at the moment. So we will have an infinite scroll here. Not infinite, actually horizontal scroll. And yeah, I think this works better to answer all of the users' questions. Obviously, here the FAQ section has not been given so much attention. It's being very clouded by the image and the form right here. But here it's front and center. It's a very important part, and that's what we should do, considering we removed so much content from here. Okay, so far I really like how the website is coming along. FAQ section looks very nice. Everything is working very fine. The website is almost done. Next up, we're going to be working with the footer here. Obviously, the footer, it's a very mini section. It's not going to be a long part, maybe 5-6 minutes. Who knows? But we're going to be removing so much from the footer as well. Just because we already have the link somewhere else and it's just getting redundant. Uh, Also, next time we're going to be finishing off who's also doing a bit of branding, rebranding. You remember the logo, and it's not working for me. Obviously, initially, uh, I thought of a glassmorphic design, but thinking of it, glassmorphic feels fragile, and this is a home maintenance, and I don't really want that feeling. So we're gonna be fixing that next up. But yeah, that's all for today. Maybe I can do one last thing. Select everything here, make it a bit longer. Okay, maybe not that much. Yeah, I like that. The reason I wanted to do that is because once there is content here, I want that content to be able to freely flow. And maybe I could increase the size here since I have the space now. And maybe I could increase it, but let me do 40. Okay, that looks very nice. Okay, uh, 60s. Okay, so that's fine. Yeah, next time I'm going to be continuing and finishing off the design. It's been a very nice series so far, and we'll be finishing it off next time. Since we finished the FAQ section in the previous part, now we have to finish it off with the footer. Now you can see this is the original footer, which is too cluttered for my liking. What I'm gonna do is basically, I'm gonna remove most of the unwanted elements and just keep the wanted ones, which is gonna be very small portion in general. Before I do that though, I wanna go here, and from the last episode, I think I made a mistake. I did not change this to a minus, so I just wanna do that very quick. I could select this part from here, just copy it, and Control Shift R in this case. This is going to be minus icon, and I think after Control Alt O here we can remove stroke part, and I think this was around 24, so this should be the same. Uh, 24 here. And yeah. Then I want to select this, and I want the height 56 by 56, so I want that. 56, 56. Then I want to center the minus icon. And that's it. That's all we need to update. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go add some spacing here, some additional spacing. Also, I don't want this part, I don't want it to be going down, so let me just make it top left. And let's go in and just add some extra spacing here for the footer. That's more than enough. Now this footer, all right? Let's analyze what we have here first. One thing we have is the logo, which we don't really need in this case. The logo is not really a place for the footer. Another thing we have here is the socials, which I want to keep. It's not so important in this case, like the socials, and there are other places to lead the user to your socials instead of just the beginning of the footer, but we're going to keep it there. These links are all going to be removed. This link right here, the realtors, I want to have, it's important, I believe, for a website like this, but the footer is not the place. Instead, it should be on the navigation. So is there somewhere we should, maybe I should change this from contact to realtors, because we obviously have the contact support part here always, so it seems redundant. Or we just might just duplicate this and say realtors. Obviously, I want to move it around here in order of importance, and I think that's it. Great. So now let's move down and we can focus on the footer. Okay, all of these will be removed. We don't really need a call to action here, considering there is already a call to action on the section directly above it. So yeah, basically we're gonna also need this trademark and this privacy policy. So 1, 2, and 3, then a trademark. That's all we're gonna be needing. It's gonna be the simplest ever footer you have ever seen. So let's just get in here, and I want to take this, duplicate it, just paste it here. Okay. We don't need this to be this big, by the way, but I'm going to keep it there since we have sufficient enough space. Okay, 16 pixels here works fine. Then Facebook and X, then privacy policy. So those are the 3 links that we're going to be using. Very simple. Just duplicate these. Facebook, X. I like to do in brackets Twitter, since we are still moving off of that name, and I think we still need to make it obvious. And here on this side, privacy policy. Okay, so these are our 3 links. For these, we could make them black, but I don't think we need to do that. I don't think they are high visual hierarchy elements, so let's just group them. The footer generally is just not that important in terms of visual hierarchy, so I'm just gonna leave these quite small, even decrease their size here, but considering we have enough space, I could leave it like that here. Okay, so we can just leave it with its initial size and call this the links. Also, for the gap, I want to go 40 pixels, the same as we did for the header. And that's it, basically. So we don't really need any more elements. I'm just going to take these, Shift A, group them into the footer, and apply a white background. That's all. Also, I want a stroke of our C5, but the stroke actually will only be on the top part. Then after that, we could go and add some padding on the top and bottom of 16 pixels, maybe even 24. Okay, that looks very nice. Then for this part, I want to make sure. Okay, let's put this in place. Then I want to make sure that this part and this part, I want to group them here into another content section because I don't want them to stick out from this side. So this is going to be its overall size, but this one I want to make sure that it is fully extended, zero gap, and center aligned. So now we have this layout where the content actually goes up to our grid setup, while the whole website overall, footer overall, just goes all throughout. So we can now take this and go down. Actually, we can just make sure it is constrained to the left and the bottom. Then what I think I'll do here is just move this. Okay, let's put this down, and I'm gonna move this up. Just where I want to know where this ends, so that this could start where that ends. Okay, great. So also obviously I want to give this a full background as I did. Okay. Yeah, so that's the footer. Very simple, obviously, from what we started out with. It's very simple and doesn't have much of the information. But I think we moved much of the information to where it's needed, including this to the navbar. So we don't really have to do it in the footer. And the footer is not really the place for these links. Great, so we can finish now, but one thing remains. The only thing that remains at this point is basically to change the branding here of the logo. I'm gonna go to the branding section. It's been some time since we visited it. I want to remove this, and I want to go here, and the background blur effect will be removed. And for this color, I'm gonna give it the primary color, and for the back, I think I want to go here and let's go back here and take this color, the bluish, this color, the cyan sort of color. It's not even cyan, it's a light blue. So I really like this one. Okay, so before I do anything, I want to change this. Let me just paste it here, place it here, make it pretty big, 128, 500 perhaps, 400. 400 looks nice. Then give it like 128 gap. We could also place something like this, a separator. It's gonna be our default border color here, C5. We'll make it smaller. Maybe you could make them, make this a bit darker. I'm not really a fan of how this looks, so let's just remove this, give this 64. Okay, that works nice. That's just the thumbnail here. I want to make sure that it is set as thumbnail. Okay, yeah. Let me just do this. Let me restore to the default thumbnail and right click and set it as thumbnail so that the change persists. And if I go here, hopefully it should update. Okay, yeah, it did update. So next up, just select this logo, copy it, go back to design. And Control Shift R. Obviously, I want to make the height 24. And that it's the logo and it fits the design, overall design, much better at this point. Okay, so that's it. That is the completed design. Let's just review what we have in a before and after manner, I think. So this was the design initially. It didn't really lack too much visual design principles. It lacked effectiveness and it lacked something to make it special and an effective brand. But our redesign, I think, would benefit this company, this SaaS product, a lot more. It feels more modern. It feels like it has a stronger brand, and it is actually more effective and efficient. So that was the things that we focused on. Great. Thank you for watching this tutorial course. I know it's a bit long, but I hope that you get all the value you wanted from it. Uh, yeah, obviously, there are some things we could change, and I'm gonna leave the Figma file for you to experiment and learn and do your own thing. But this was the overall redesign. Hope you liked it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Yeah, till next time. Goodbye. And that's cut. Hope you really enjoyed the video and got value from it. Getting good at web design requires only one thing: to keep designing. The more you design, the better you become. I'll be releasing more courses to help you with that, but for now, that's goodbye. I wish you all the best and see you soon. Don't forget to support the channel on Patreon through the link in the description down below.